Welcome to Learning to Glow, a show about wellness, skin health, and self-development. I'm your host, Jess. I'm a mom, entrepreneur, and skincare expert. I'm so excited to share tips on how to achieve healthy skin and bring amazing guests in the field of health, fitness, aging gracefully, and personal growth. Let's explore all different ways we can take care of ourselves as women, both inside and out, to truly shine. So let's get glowing. Hello, friends. I'm so glad that you are here with me today. I am back with another solo episode. This time, it is inspired by a 30-day challenge that I am doing online. I'm doing it on TikTok, and I'm sharing one wellness tip that I have shared or learned on this podcast, and then I implement it into my day that day. For 30 days, I'm doing this, and I wanted these tips to be fast and doable so that I didn't feel overwhelmed and that I could share it and it would feel actionable and doable for others who are coming along for this little journey of mine. I decided to, at the time, I have recorded about 17 days worth of tips, and I didn't want to wait till the end of this little journey because I have found some tips that are really working for me. And I wanted to share 7 of them on today's podcast with you. And my requirement for these tips is that they take about 5 minutes. I think they're all free. And something that we can do to just start getting back into healthy habits. And for me, I've learned so many things on this podcast from all of the guest experts that have come on. And I just wanted to kind of get back into some of the older episodes that maybe I've forgotten about. There's a couple, I won't go into it here in the intro, but you'll hear it in the episode. And I am loving it. So I hope you do too. I hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, if you enjoy it, please send it to a friend who could use some wellness inspo, and make sure that you're subscribed on Apple so you never miss a new episode. Thank you so much for your support and being here and listening to the show. I so appreciate it. And here are 7 wellness tips that you can do in 5 minutes or less. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode, a solo episode, where I am going to be sharing wellness tips that take 5 minutes or less. And that is because I did a little challenge on my TikTok account. So go follow me on TikTok if you're on TikTok. It's a lot of fun over there. But I am doing a 30-day challenge over there, and I'm on day 17 of the challenge currently when I record this. And I'm loving it. So I'm going to tell you why I am doing this challenge, and it's a challenge for myself and why it's working so well. And then I also will share what wellness tips have been kind of my favorite since I started doing this 17 days ago. What was my inspiration was the last time I came on here and I shared a solo episode, it was all about my Europe trip. And I shared that I really did suffer from jet lag. I was tired, and I have been on this journey of health and weight loss, and I've been sharing everything for the past year or so, almost a year. And well, I've been sharing my journey since I started this podcast, but more recently, I've been getting really in tune with great habits and just sort of different things that have really helped me move forward with my health in a really positive way. And when I went to Europe, all of that was like kind of out the window. It was amazing, and we did do a lot of walking, but there wasn't any routines. Obviously, it was a trip, and it really took me some time to get back to normal, as I say, after this trip. But like, even getting back to normal, I just felt like I could not get back on track, and I really wanted to do something that was helping me get those little habits that I had going before my trip back in order. And so this was a really fun way, because I was going, the whole point of my challenge is to go back into this podcast, Learning to Glow, and find a wellness tip from an episode and do it for that day. So like, for example, one of my days was talking about an episode that I did with Yvonne, the nutritionist, where she talks about having protein coffee. So I mentioned the podcast episode, the tip that the guest expert mentions, and then for my challenge, I do that
thing for that day. And I'm just basically trying to get back into all of my habits and also go through my archive of amazing episodes and remind myself of some of these things that I used to do that I haven't been doing as much. So it's been amazing. I've gone all the way back. We've even highlighted episode 2. We've episode 4. So like really back, there are some amazing episodes. If you are new to Learning to Glow, please go back and check out some of our earlier episodes. And at the end of this episode, I'll link the ones that we talk about. But for example, my episode number 2 with Courtney Fletcher is so good. She's an acupuncturist. And I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that episode. It was so good. So I will make sure at the end of this episode to link each one that I'm talking about by number and the tip that is associated with it. So that's what inspired this whole thing. And so far, so I'm only on day 17, but so far I have regained some new habits in like my morning routine, for example. I've added some things back that I forgot about actually, or I've added some things that I'm like, okay, I need to be more consistent with this. I haven't forgotten about it, but I've gotten out of the habit. And I've done a couple things that I've removed some things that haven't been serving me. So let's get into these tips. I wanted to do something that wasn't expensive, that didn't take a lot of time. I don't know about you guys, but this summer is hard for me to get everything done. I have my kids at home with me. I'm a mom, and it's just like a busier time. So I don't want to like wake up in the morning and feel like I have a million things to do. That's why I chose tips on this challenge that were quick and easy. That's why I'm saying it's like 5 minutes for some of them, because I didn't want to have to do a bunch of things that made me feel overwhelmed. But I looked forward to trying something new and then to see like, okay, is this worth adding back into my routine or not? And I feel like we've talked about this. In fact, one of my most recent episodes, 131, we talk about healthy habits with Jen Trippick and ways that you can sort of do this, and we've talked about it with my wellness pairing episode where, okay, yeah, we have things that we want to do, but we don't want to spend all day in the kitchen or in the bathroom doing these things. So why not pair it with something else at the same time, like habit stacking? I think that concept really, really works for me. So when you're doing one thing, what else can you be doing at the same time to maximize your time, especially if you're really busy, especially for me, this is my busy season. For other people, their busy season is another time, but this is my busy season. So I want to add some health and wellness into my mornings, especially. That's where I do most of these tips, but I don't want to feel like, oh, just another to do. So I'm choosing one tip for my challenge a day. I'm not trying to do all of them every day. That is how you get overwhelmed and then you end up doing nothing. So we've talked about that a lot on this show. And then, basically, I am getting back into these routines. So I'm all about progress. I'm not about perfection, because there's been days where I've been doing this challenge and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, oops, I'm not doing this like I thought I would or should have done. So I let that go. I'm doing like great. I'm looking at it like that. Like everything that I'm doing and trying out, I'm proud of myself. Like we're doing okay here. And I think that just a reminder of some of these things, like for me personally, some of these things that I wasn't doing on a regular basis that I started doing again, that gentle reminder, I'm like, oh yeah, I did this because it made me feel so good. And at the end of the day, and I talked about that with my episode with Jen, episode 131, is that my goal is at the end of the day to feel good, to have energy, to wake up and be like, I feel good, instead of, that's a thing that you have when, especially in my past, having chronic illness and chronic fatigue and different things like that. It's like not a fun feeling and not a good way to wake up. So I'm going to start with the tips. I'm going to do 7 tips from this challenge that I have really loved that I want to share with you that you could try out if you're interested. And then I still have the rest of the challenge to go. So when I'm finished with it, maybe I'll do another episode to talk about, how it went the full 30 days. It's also interesting just to be committed to a challenge like this in a public way, because I am also, getting a little bit used to posting. I don't really post on TikTok that often, but it's been fun to be like, okay, like I'm holding myself accountable because that's what I said I would do on TikTok. So that's been kind of an interesting experiment. Okay, so number 1 is legs up the wall. This is I love this. This is one that I totally forgot about. And I loved the episode with Michaela, who's a health coach. And in her episode, we talked about yoga, her sobriety. We talked about morning routines and evening routines. She's really like that health and wellness girly that you think about. And she's amazing. And every day she does legs up the wall. So basically, she lays down, puts her legs up her wall, and it helps with circulation. It helps with the lymph, and it just helps blood flow, and it's like draining. So it helps with like puffiness, or if you have swelling, if you're on your feet all day. So I totally forgot about this. I was doing it after we'd had our first episode, that first conversation with Michaela, and we had so much fun doing that, and she loved her suggestion. So I was doing that for a long time, completely forgot about it. And that was something that I did twice that day, the day of the challenge. I did it at the end of the day and I did it in the morning. So it's best at night because you've been walking around, standing, all that stuff. It is really nice. And 5 minutes is all you need. You could do 10 for extra credit, but 5 minutes is all you need. Number 2 was something that we've talked about so many times on this podcast, but balanced breakfast. So a balanced breakfast that's high in protein, basically. That was like, I think my first day of the challenge was that, because I really wanted to get back into starting my day. Your breakfast sets the stage for your entire day. And I've had more than one person talk about this, but I highlighted the episode with Yvonne, the nutritionist, when I did my challenge. For me personally, I have seen a huge difference since I started doing this. I'm full longer. It just sets up your blood sugar. And that is something that is such a buzzword, but for a good reason. It really makes a difference. So if you are on a weight loss journey and you skip, or you have like a breakfast that doesn't have any protein, that could end up affecting you in a negative way later on in the day. Maybe you're more hungry because you're snacky, because protein keeps you full. There's a lot of different ways you can get these high protein breakfast ideas. I love like a nice omelet. I like to, if I'm like low, because eggs don't have that much protein in them. They're like 6 grams an egg. So you can add egg whites, you can have a side of cottage cheese, you can have some sausage, whatever you want to make it as high of a protein meal as possible. And then I also have my protein coffee, which we've talked about on this show. So I'm starting my day with a really good amount of protein. So that was my challenge. That's pretty easy. It's a lot easier to do at home. Okay. So when I was in Europe, that was very difficult. I could try, like if we had a continental breakfast, there was some options, but when you're at home making your own breakfast, it's just a lot easier to get your protein in. So number 3 is getting morning sunlight. So a lot of times I get my morning sunlight just by getting out there with my dog. It's really easy. I'm doing, that habit stacking that we talk about. I'm walking my dog and I'm getting that morning sunlight. So I'd like to do that first thing. But there's been a couple of days where I don't have time to walk my dog right away. So I'll just go out in the backyard and have my coffee and just get some morning light and some sun exposure. Why? Because that is going to help your circadian rhythm, which is then in turn going to help your sleep, which is then in turn going to help you have more balanced hormones. If your hormones are out of whack, your hunger hormones are going to go way up, and you're going to be hungrier than if you didn't have a good night's sleep, or if you did have a good night's sleep, excuse me. So sleep is directly related to why I like to do the morning sunlight. And that's not a hard one for me, because I have my dog who loves to go out on her walks in the morning. But if you don't have time to go and do that, you can also just go out and sit outside for a few minutes. Anything helps with that, I feel like. Number 4, this is back to the walking. Man, I've talked about walking so much in the past. Since I started this podcast, I have talked a lot about walking. One of my early episodes, episode 3, is all about walking and why I love it and what the benefits are. And more recently, we've had podcast guests who have talked about walking after meals and what a big difference that makes on your blood sugar. I even have had people from the Chinese medicine world, TCM, who have said, my favorite was one of my guests who said, 100 steps after your meals to be 100, to live 100 years. So basically, like, move after you eat. And that next day I went out after dinner, my husband and I'm like, let's count 100 steps and just see how much it is. It was like half a block. It was so close. So you don't really need a ton of walking after you eat, even if it's just walking around your house and going up the stairs. That alone will help your blood sugar so it doesn't spike up so high. And that will just keep everything balanced, which is really good. My goal for that day, for that tip, was to do more than just my after dinner walks. So I did after breakfast, and I think I did all three. I did after lunch on my walking pad, and then I did after dinner. I took my dog again. And I just really made that a habit. Again, when I got home, I was not walking my dog twice a day. I was so tired. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'll do once a day. And I've finally gotten to the place where I'm walking twice a day. I'm walking after dinner pretty much every single day. And it's just really nice because then it's like kind of the opposite of what I talked about for tip number 3, morning sunlight. Evening sunlight's really great too, because then your body's like, oh, okay, like sun's going down. Body's going to start getting ready for rest and relaxation and prepping for, okay, my brain knows it's almost bedtime and we're going to start winding down. So I think that's been something that I don't even think about anymore. I'm just like, okay, I did the dishes. I get my shoes on and we go for a nice walk, and I stroll. Like, I don't even walk fast. It's not a crazy walk. It's just like I'm watching the sun go down, and I don't know. It's time by myself. I really enjoyed it. So I was doing it once in a while before the trip, but now I've gotten back into my habit from this challenge, which has been so fun. Okay, number 5. This is a hard one. This one was, again, multiple episodes that have talked about this in my podcast, a lot of guests who have talked about it, the phone before bed. So that's not just your phone, but like blue light. And this has really become a habit for me. I did it a lot in Europe, and, we were gone all day, like sightseeing and all that. And so I wouldn't be on my phone at all. And so at the end of the night, I would sit and scroll on my phone before bed. And that was probably the worst thing I could have done in Europe because I was so jet lagged to begin with. And when you look at your phone, that blue light signals to your body that it's like noon, and instead of midnight, what it really was, because I was going to bed so late. So I think that if you're going to be on your phone, I've had these blue light blockers forever. I pulled those out because I hadn't been using them. And then I just tried to put my phone away way earlier than I normally do and read. So I'm reading a good book. I put down my phone, I put away my glasses, and I read. And that's something that is a still ongoing challenge for me, especially when I'm busy and I'm not looking at my phone during the day. I do sometimes overdo it in the evening. And if I am going to do that, I just want to try to remember to wear my glasses, because one theme you'll see with these tips that I'm sharing is all of these things are going to help with sleep or digestion or gut health. But really, sleep is the common theme for this 30-day challenge, because without sleep, like, all of our goals when it comes to wellness and health are going to be really hard to achieve, down to everything: weight loss, muscle recovery, our skin repairing, just everything. Our brains, our bodies, they need sleep. So the more we can do health and wellness wise to support good night's sleep is obviously important. And I think that's something that I had kind of gotten a negative habit. I've gotten into that negative habit, basically, of being on my phone too much before bed. It's not helpful. It's harmful. And it's a really hard habit to break because those phones are addicting. So that is something that I did for the day, but I will continue to work on throughout this month so I can try to nail that habit down and just be like, okay, I want to spend more time reading at night. And there's nothing more that helps me go to sleep than reading, which is why it takes me forever to read a book. Okay. So my next one is, this is my favorite one. And it's not a new one. We've talked about it, of course, and we've talked about it with our acupuncturist. This was a Courtney Fletcher tip: warm water in the morning before coffee. So I was really good. I feel like year one of this podcast, I had like 3 acupuncturists on, and I was really trying to obey their orders because they were telling me, you have a problem with ice and you need to start having some warm liquids. And I really listened to that. But then I totally got out of the habit. And I can't remember what day it was. I'll look and I'll put it in the show notes. But the day that I did the warm water with lemon, my digestion, I'm telling you, people, if you have digestion issues or if you have trouble going to the bathroom, do this. Like, this is, you guys, it's free. It's so good for your gut. It's so good for your digestion. I cannot believe, like, I was so blown away the first day of doing it. And because I hadn't done it in so long, that I have done it every day since. I have a warm water. I actually put a little bit of sea salt and I do half of a lemon for the warm water. And I drink that whole thing while I'm whatever morning activity I'm doing. And then I have my coffee. And I'm going to be honest, I do not have hot coffee. I still have cold coffee, but at least I'm putting it into something, my gut. I'm pouring cold water or cold coffee into my gut after I've had some warm water. So I don't feel as guilty about it. So that is something that I've done that one stuck. Like, that's my favorite of the challenge so far. And number 7 is kind of a bonus for my challenge because we were talking about digestion in one of my episodes. And one of my favorite new products that I use is a bitters, digestive bitters. And because I have digestion issues, I've been on digestive enzymes. I'll put the one that I use in the show notes as well. I think I talked about those with Yvonne, the nutritionist. The digestive enzymes, she's the one that recommended me those. But then I also do the bitters. And it's just a liquid that you put in your mouth and it helps stimulate, it helps with your digestion, getting the juices going. So you do that bitters right before you eat your food and it makes a big difference. And I can tell you, those 2 things, like the water and the digestive enzymes and bitters, huge difference in my digestion. And that was really off after traveling. And I'm sure other people can relate to that with being gone, with traveling. You can definitely get some digestion issues. And I had them before I went. So they're better. It's really better. So I'm so happy about that. I actually love the taste of the bitter. So I do it before every meal. And that is something that's stuck with me too. Like, I feel like those 2 things I don't skip. Once I started doing them with this challenge of habits, those were easy for me. So I feel like the hardest things that have been for me to stick with, because originally this challenge wasn't for me to keep doing every single thing every single day, but the things that really help me or I notice a big difference, I want to try to keep obviously in my routine. And the hardest one has been probably getting off my phone more, even like not being on your phone while you eat, because that can screw up your digestion as well. And really just being present and like focus on your eating and chewing your food. That is from an episode with Nanette, who is a holistic nutritionist or a functional nutritionist. And she's the one who told me about that. So that was a challenge that has been harder for me to stick with. And yeah, the thing that was most surprising and that helped me the most was, I would say, the water and the bitters. So doing this on TikTok and like having to show up every day has been really fun and different because it's a way for me to stay accountable. And it's also been really fun to go back and listen to these episodes that I haven't listened to in a long. Yeah, I think like that's always been my perspective on wellness, is finding what works for you. There's a million things. I mean, we could spend 3 days on a morning routine. Like, it's unnecessary. And I also feel like it's not necessary to spend so much time on all of these things. Sometimes it just takes a minute. It takes 5 minutes or whatever it is. And then you find what works for you and your issues and your goals. Like, for example, me and digestion, like I'm going to prioritize things that help support that because that's been an issue of mine. And I love that it helps me feel so much better. But I don't feel like being overwhelmed by trying to get a bunch of things in is helpful. It's harmful to me. And especially like this season of my life where I'm busy, I'm going to be like, I'm going to do something that serves me. I'm going to do it because it makes me feel better, but I'm not going to stress myself out about it. So if there's anything here that sounds interesting to you to try. I mean, they're not new things. They're things that we've talked about on this podcast multiple times, but give it a try. Like if you have digestion issues, start with warm water. I know a lot of people already do that. I saw this really great mocktail on a TikTok that I saw, and it was this woman who, when she is making dinner, she does, it's the same thing as my warm water, but she does it with sparkling water, and it's not warm. So she'll do like a little bit of sea salt, a little bit of lemon juice, and then sparkling water. And I've been doing that at night while I cook, just as something fun and delicious. It's actually really good. That's been like a fun treat to have. So if you try any of these things out, let me know. Let me know which one you like the best, or if anything resonated with you. If you have your own morning routine, what is like one thing that you cannot live without doing? I've done a lot more. So if you want to check out the full 30 days of what I've done, and or obviously at this point it's only been 17 days, but if you want to check out the challenge, go to TikTok at Simply Jess Skincare and check out the rest of the things that I've been trying out. And let me know what you think. Definitely send this to a friend if you think that would help them, and somebody who needs a little bit of wellness inspo. Definitely send it to them, and send me your messages too. If there's anything else you want me to talk about on this podcast, send me a message. You can text me on the Apple Podcast app, and you can also send me a message on Instagram. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for listening. I think that we have to be reminded sometimes that we don't have to do it all. We can pick and choose what works for us. That's why I love like a wellness menu of things that are really great, things to curate your own routine that makes you feel good if you're on this health and wellness journey. And getting a glow up doesn't have to mean 3 hours in the morning trying to fit every single thing in. And there's some wellness things that I've cut out because I'm like, you know what? I actually don't think that's right for me. It might be right for a man that's in his 20s, but I don't need to be doing that anymore. And I'm talking about ice baths, by the way, but I'll talk about that again on another episode. So you all have a really great rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and I will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please subscribe and review so we can reach more people who want to learn to glow alongside us. See you next time.